Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Yvette Terry. I am your host on today's show, Professional Development. This show is here for you to provide you with information and tools to help you move your career in the next direction at a higher level. For more information, go to www.divinedesignsite.com and you'll find loads of information, videos, articles to help get you inspired and thinking about what you can do next to put your career on in the next level. In the meantime, I am here with Charles Clemons. He is the founder of Touch 106.1 FM. It is the radio station located in the heart of Boston in Grove Hall. He is also the producer and host of Touch TV, and that's a show that spotlights current events of interest in the Black community. And I'm so happy to have you on the show, Charles. Welcome to Professional Development.
It's my pleasure, Yvette.
So, Charles, you are the founder, the co-founder of Touch 106.1 FM.
Yes.
Tell us about how you came to create that radio station and give us a little bit about your background as well.
All right, well, let's start with, I used to intern at the only Black radio station in Boston, WILD, which was located 1090 AM on the AM dial. And that radio station was a daytime station. And a daytime station is a station that comes on from sunrise to sunset. Mm-hmm. And in December in Boston, the sun rises at 7:15 a.m. and it sets at 4:15 p.m. And while I was interning at this radio station in 1979, I was doing 40 hours a week for 2 years. I kept saying to myself, why is it that other radio stations are on 24 hours and how come WILD had to go off the air so soon? And I said that wasn't right and it wasn't fair, that information wasn't given to the Black community 24 hours. And I asked Ken Nash, who had just purchased WILD from the Sheridan Corporation in 1978, and that's when WILD became Black owned. And I said, how much did you pay for the radio station? He said, $1 million. I said, well, that's not a lot of money if we pool our resources together. We can have a radio station and it could be 24 hours. And then he said about the FCC regulations and this and that. And I said to myself that, one day, I would like to have a 24-hour Black-owned radio station that gave information to our community, inspired our community, and connected our community to resources. That was back in 1979. And as time progressed, I changed different careers. I've always been a people person. I've always been in the service industry, providing services for my community, providing jobs for my community also. I had friends, two friends that have been my friends for over 30 years, John Lane and Leroy McLaurin, and I pitched them the idea of, let's start this radio station because WILD had went off the air. They had started leasing their time, their space, their frequency to an Asian organization.
How soon was it when WILD had gone off the air that you approached your lifelong friends, Leroy and John?
It was almost around the same time. See, WILD was sold somewhere in the 2000s.
It was early 2000s, or late 90s.
Well, it was sold to Kathy Hughes. Kathy Hughes is the owner of Radio One.
Radio One. Yeah.
She bought WILD for $5 million. But she also purchased a country western station in Brockton, WBOT, which was 97.7, the original Hot 977.
I did not know that.
And I was saying to myself, how is it possible that this beautiful woman, Black woman, can come to Boston and purchase a radio station, and we did not purchase this radio station.
We being a community, a Black person in Boston?
Exactly. I couldn't understand that.
Was it was obviously a money issue. I mean, you can't just cough up $1 million and just buy a radio station.
Well,
So
actually, it was $5 million.
$5 million,
$5
which
million.
is even, you know,
Well,
more substantial.
well, in
So-
Boston, in Boston, black people, we spend $2 billion a year. So $5 million wouldn't be a lot of money compared
You're
to
right.
the $2 billion.
You're absolutely right. And also, in that same vein, Charles, we know that it takes more than money to create a business.
Right.
It takes a mindset, it takes passion, it takes a vision. So obviously, Kathy Hughes, who is very successful in her entrepreneurship today, had an entrepreneurial mindset back in the 90s and in the 80s as well, as I'm sure. So she was in a position to cough up $5 million, not only with the money, but then she probably had a management team. She probably was groomed and mentored to be positioned to be an entrepreneur
Absolutely.
like
and,
that.
And she ended up selling Hot 977 at the time,
I
the
didn't
original
know
Hot
that.
977. She sold that radio station after having it on the air for 5 years for $35 million. After purchasing it for $5 million, she sold it for $35 million. So I should have said that WIOD had transitioned to FM. And then what happened when they sold the radio station, WIOD went back to AM. So there was no FM frequency for our community. And at that time, I decided that we were going to have a voice by any means necessary. And I kept hearing other radio stations popping up in our community, 102.9, 102.1. And
These were black-owned radio
black-owned
stations.
radio stations by our Haitian brothers and sisters, our Caribbean brothers and sisters, our Cape Verdean brothers and sisters, And I kept saying to myself, you know, WIOD has been here for 50 years. I've been living here all my life. How are my brothers and sisters who are just coming to America starting these radio stations?
Again, it's the mindset. I mean, I know
Absolutely.
you're asking a rhetorical question,
Right.
but I'm sure it's a mindset. You have to you have to want it. You have to want
It
to
bad
be an
enough.
entrepreneur. You have to want it more than anything, and you have to position yourself to start a business.
Right.
So I grew up in Boston as well, and I grew up listening to WIOD, and I cannot recall a radio station other than Touch 106.1 FM that provides information to the community. And I want you to talk about, so now we're fast forwarding to 2005, 2006, and Touch 106.1 FM is now founded. And the goal of the radio station, and I'm asking more than telling, is to provide information to the black community in a timely information and also be a resource to the community.
Understanding that media is so powerful, radio, television, print, newspaper, the internet, it is so powerful and so informative. And I couldn't sit back with what I knew about communications, what I knew about radio and the importance of media. I couldn't sit back and just watch my community go into the dark. It wasn't right, and it was very important for me to understand to do what I feel God chose me to do. I believe that we all have these gifts that God has given us.
Yes.
And my gift is communication. My gift is media. My gift is music.
Was there ever a time, Charles, where you felt apprehensive to use the gifts that you had? Were you ever, had you ever second-guessed yourself? And I'm asking those questions because I am certain, as sure as I'm sitting here, there are people out in the community who have a passion. We all have gifts that were given to us, and they have a desire to use their gifts and talents to serve the community. And I'm certain they're probably wondering, what was that defining moment for you that you said, I'm going to take this particular passion that I have and I'm going to create a radio station? I mean, is there something that you could share with the viewing audience to help them get past any apprehension that they may have, or any any fear that they may have? Because it's a scary thing to step out.
To step out on faith, to take that leap.
It can be very intimidating.
Right, and you don't know that when you take that leap off that cliff,
How far that
mountain,
drop going to be?
or if your parachute's going to open up.
Well.
However, I will say this, because I've been I've been in the music industry since I was 16 years of age.
Mm-hmm.
I'm 54 years of age at this time. It's part of it's in my blood. And with the information that I've received, interning at WYLD, becoming a street DJ, being a concert promoter, all tied into entertainment, into music, it was almost like second nature to me. But to answer your question about was I afraid? No, I wasn't, because I knew what I wanted. I had a clear vision of what was going to happen. I would daydream. I would have dreams of how the radio station was going to look, the music, the information, and eventually, and sometimes it gets scary. This scares me sometimes, Yvette. I can think of something or see something, and it could be a year, 2 years, or 5 years from now, it will happen. So I'll say this, that when you have an idea and you have a vision, don't second guess yourself.
Yeah.
Don't second guess yourself.
Yeah.
If this is something that you believe in, go for it. And if you do fail, it's okay. It's all right.
Failure is part of the process.
Exactly.
It's part of the process. So that's great. So Charles, the station has been in the heart of the Black community in the Grove Hall area in Roxbury. Or
Beautiful. I call
beautiful
it
uptown Grove Hall.
Yes.
Excuse me, I stand corrected. And so 8 years is a long time to provide information and services to the community. I'm sure you've touched thousands of lives through education, through awareness, through politics, through entertainment. What are some of the things that you are most proud of that Touch 106 has accomplished in the past 8 years that has changed people's lives, essentially? I
would say giving people a voice. Giving people a voice that they've never, ever had before. In Boston, Boston has always been dominated by white-owned media. Those talk shows, white-owned talk shows. We really didn't have a black talk show that was consistent until Radio 1 came in and they brought in, the Tom Joyner, Al Sharpton, Michael Eric Dyson. However, they weren't local. We have some brilliant local talent here in Boston, and Touch 106.1 FM would give that platform for that local talent.
Right. And so much more. And as you're talking, I'm thinking about the history that you're making. Being the only black radio station in the city of Boston, 24 hours a day.
That is profanity-free.
Profanity-free, family-oriented, educationally sound, and providing information to the community that really connects us.
See, I remember when radio first came about and television, I have pictures of memories of families sitting around the radio, families sitting around the television. And that's what I wanted to bring back to Touch 106.1 FM. We have young people as young as 3 years old, 4-year-olds calling in to the radio station. We have a 6-year-old, her name is Shaumber, who calls in and gives us the Mandarin word of the day and the key Swahili word of the day. Out of the clear blue, just call Touch and say, can I contribute? So Touch inspires from the cradle to the grave.
Right, and it also speaks to her her leadership in her own right to be 6 years old. And I'm sure her parents allowed her to call into the radio station, but it also ties into the question I asked earlier about what was that defining moment that made you say, I'm going to start this business, I'm going to provide this service. And if a 6-year-old can move past her fears, then certainly someone who's older than 6 years old can take the step of faith forward and provide the service, because we need whatever talents and skills that you have. We need those talents and skills. Bless us with what you've been blessed with, because there are hundreds, if not thousands of people right now in Mattapan, Dorchester, Hyde Park, Roxbury, who need some kind of service, whether it be professional resume, whether it be communication, whether it be broadcasting, healthcare, writing, cooking, sewing, whatever it is. We need your talent so that we can be a stronger and better community.
Now, there was a defining moment when we came on the air. Within 30 days of coming on the frequency of 106.1 FM, we were visited by the FCC within 30 days.
So this was back in 2006?
2006. They came and visited us. And now, prior to that, remember I mentioned about the other radio stations, the other community radio stations,
that were up
the
and running.
other
Yeah.
unlicensed radio
At the
stations
time.
that are still up and running to this day. I went there and I started volunteering to learn, to figure out, what do they know that I don't know? How are they able to create these radio stations? And of course, they told me that low power stations, you don't need a license. I'm like, wow, I never heard of this. I'm going to learn as much as possible. I volunteered for 9 days at 190, 9 months at one radio station, 9 months at another radio station, learned what I needed to know, and started Touch 106.1 FM. So after 30 days, the FCC came knocking on the door, and they wanted to come in, and they said that we were interfering with airplanes, and we were interfering with other radio stations.
Was that true?
That was a lie.
So the FCC decides within 30 days of you opening up this radio station with a mission to serve and provide vital information to the community, that they had nothing else going on with all the stuff that's going on in the world.
They said they had complaints.
They had complaints that your station was interfering with other
Airplanes.
radio stations.
And airplanes.
And airplanes.
Yes, yes. And of course I was scared. I shut the station down for 3 days. But then I received a phone call from a group called Prometheus Radio Project out of Washington, D.C., who read our story, but they had been listening to us on the internet. When we came on the air in 2006, because we were a 100-watt radio station and only had a 3.5-mile radius, I decided to think outside the box. And why not put us on the internet so more people can hear us all over the world? So when we came on the air in 2006, we were also on the internet at the same time.
Nice.
So now we go back to the FCC visiting us. Well, Prometheus said, there's a history of the FCC using a scare tactic of saying that you interfere with airplanes and you interfere with other radio stations. They showed me a document that said that $2 million of taxpayers' money was used by the FCC to do a survey in major cities, including Boston, by a group called Mitra. And the findings came out that low-power radio stations do not interfere with airplanes and do not interfere with other radio stations.
It sounds too obvious. It sounds like they were not very savvy in coming and attempting to shut you down within 30 days, because the information sounds like it was at your fingertips, that there were other radio stations up and running at the time when they came to knock on your door in 2006, correct?
Right.
So if there were other existing radio stations up and running at the time, and it's a hypothetical question, why would they think you wouldn't find out that you were actually in your right to run that radio station? I'm certain they've tried that scare tactic on other stations at the time as well. It just seems like a waste of time for them to knock on your door within 30 days of opening.
Well, had I not had Prometheus Radio Project, if they didn't contact me, I wouldn't have knew about this.
So but the FCC had a reputation for scaring other radio stations in the city of Boston as well?
No, across the country.
Across the country.
Across the country. I was the first radio station to be visited by the FCC with that scare tactic.
I see. That's interesting. So let's fast
So
forward.
that means we were powerful from the beginning.
Apparently, that's what I'm saying. Something else had this. They
information.
must have been intimidated from the beginning. So now we're
Probably because we said we're the fabric of the black community.
You think that has that in itself has
that
could
and also
intimidate people?
And we were discussing about the BU Bioterror Lab on Albany Street that they were that was being built. That is now it's partially open now. That's used to for diseases, like Ebola and.
You were talking about that even back 8 years ago in 2006?
Absolutely. We were informing the community that this is going to be built in your community, and you should know about this. Information is power. Very
powerful. So if we fast forward to 2014, where we are today, and 8 years have passed, and you've been wildly successful with Touch 106.1 FM in terms of reaching the masses and reaching people across the world, quite frankly. And so this past April 17, 2014, the FCC knocked on your door again.
Right.
And this time they came with a search warrant.
Yes. They had visited us at least 4 different times.
Prior to April 17th.
Right.
Okay, but they didn't have a search warrant during those times.
I'm a former Boston police officer, and I understand my rights. I do not have to let you in unless you have a search warrant. So if you want to come in, please come back with a search warrant.
Okay.
And it took them 8 years to get a search warrant.
Wow. And they came back with a search warrant.
And I let them in.
You let them in, and they seized all of your equipment and shut the radio station down as far as being
on the airwaves.
On the airwaves.
And they did take some of the equipment for the internet. And the way the document is written, to seize any equipment that is used to transmit over the frequency of 106.1 FM. So if you have the antenna that's connected to the transmitter, then the transmitter that's connected to the mixing board, and then the microphones that's connected to the mixing board, and the computers connected to the mixing board, they take everything. Had I known, all I had to do was unhook the antenna or the transmitter, they would have took the other stuff.
Exactly.
But you live and you learn.
Of course. It's a process. How have you been serving the community since April 17th and as far as providing information?
Well, we're on the internet. We're in 100 different countries on the internet at www.touchfm.org.
How do you reach people who do not have access
to
the internet? I'm sure that's a huge problem.
Yeah, that is a problem, particularly with I call them mature adults, you might call them senior citizens, because not all of them have internet capability. And I see them in the streets all the time, whether I'm shopping or taking public transportation or at a community meeting. Brother Charles, when are you coming back on? We can't hear you. I said, well, we are on. We're on the internet. Well, they said, well, we don't have the internet. Right now, we do have a Touch 106.1 FM app. That's if you go to the Google store, you can listen to us on your Androids, you can listen to us on your iPhones.
Yeah.
However, that is still not the same. When we were on the airwaves, we were able to reach 190,000 listeners.
190,000 people.
Plus
24
10,000
hours a day.
Yes, ma'am. Plus 10,000 on the internet.
So you were a power to be reckoned with.
Well,
information is power, but Touch 106.1 FM is a power to be reckoned with, because that's a lot of people, that's a lot of minds that you're reaching. And that's an impact.
And also, Touch 106.1 FM was a learning center.
Is a learning center.
Is a learning center.
Current.
We have interns that come in, and we teach them audio, we teach them the visual, because in radio it's audio and visual. There is a saying that radio is the theater of the mind. So we teach them the archiving and learn about the different organizations that are in our community.
And that's wonderful. I'm glad you talked about the interns there. We're going to talk more about the interns later. and as far as their professional development. But when you say you teach them audio and visual, that means they're walking away better than the way they came.
Absolutely.
That's very, very important for our young adults, that we give them opportunities to enhance their skill sets. Even the interns here at Boston Neighborhood Network, they are awesome and very professional, very skilled in what they do, and they're the leaders of our future.
They're our future, and
They
they're
are
now.
our future, yeah. So that's very, very important. So, all right, so they took all the equipment, right? You're reaching people across the internet right now. Talk about some of the subjects that you're talking about on the radio. Are they the same as they were when you had on the airways? Has that changed at all?
Our programming has not changed. It's absolutely the same. In the morning, we start off with inspirational music.
What time do you start off in the morning?
Well, we're 24 hours, but,
right, but
however,
your
from
show,
5 a.m., my show is from 6 a.m. to 10 a.m.,
okay,
Monday through Friday. However, from 5 a.m. to 6 a.m., 7 days a week, except for on Sundays. Sundays, it's 5 a.m. to 7 a.m. We hit you with some good old gospel music, some inspirational music, because I believe that God should be your center.
Absolutely.
And that should be the start of your day.
And you know what, Charles, it's also important to mention that regardless of what our faith is, that you know, there's one God. God is universal. You provide that kind of information, that kind of resource and spiritual guidance to anyone of all walks of faith.
Absolutely.
And that's very, very important for us to know that, you know, there's music and there's gospel music, and then there's hip hop. There's all kinds of music out there. But then you can also turn on the radio or turn on the internet and hear some inspirational music, as well as worship services.
Right. I believe because I've been in the music industry for over 39 years, I understand that music is the bait that you use to draw the people in, and the rhythm. We're people that are vibrations from our voice, the rhythm, the drums from the motherland, you know.
Something about those drums.
And so the music is the bait, and then you spoon feed the listening audience with information, with resources. We didn't have a radio station that was 24 hours giving us information 24 hours.
Wow.
Boston is a 24-hour city. You have folks that work the morning shift, the afternoon shift, the midnight shift.
That's right.
So they are up. They need information.
Absolutely.
And you know, like I said, I believe that I was put here to help give that information, to inspire more, to create a legacy for our community so that other young people could start a radio station. In war, the first line of defense is to knock out radio communication to the people.
Yeah.
Our radio communication has been knocked out, and we don't get it.
Wow.
We don't get it that, you know, you have these spin masters on these other radio stations that are talking these things, you know. They called the First Lady of the United States of America, Michelle Obama, the B word. You know, they've called President Barack Obama a terrorist over and over and over and over. Well, we need to have that counter action on radio. We have to understand that it's important for our people to know about community meetings that are going on. It's important for our community to be connected to our elected officials, understanding our elected officials work for us.
Absolutely.
And their job is, once they are elected, to bring the resources back to the people. And also that through the vote, you can elect an elected official or you could take them out.
I don't know if everyone really understands how that process works.
Well, on Touch 106.1 FM, and we like to sometimes call ourselves Touch U, Touch University.
Okay.
We have our elected officials that call in or that come into the studios and teach us civics. Civics was removed from the Boston Public
From high
Schools
school,
over 30 years ago.
Yeah, and I've called into the station several times. I've heard politics on the station and politicians, I'm sorry, on the station talking about the process and how it's involved. So we're going to go to a break right now, and when we come back, I want you to talk about the initiatives that you're taking right now to get this station that's well needed back online. We'll be right back in a few minutes. Don't go anywhere. Good afternoon, and we are back. I am your host on today's show, Professional Development. My name is Yvette Terry, and I'm here with Charles Clemons. He is the co-founder of Touch 106.1 FM. He is also the producer and TV host of Touch TV, and that is a show that highlights events that are happening in the Black community. And we are talking about the radio station, its history, and where it's going and what you're doing with this station and all the great things that it provides for the community. And where we left off, we talked about the FCC coming in to remove equipment from this radio station. And I want to fast forward, not too much, but talk about this petition drive that recently happened where there was a ballot, a question 5 on the ballot. Talk about how that came into play and how that impact where Touch is right now.
Well, great. We can start off with, first I want the viewers to understand that community radio station licenses are free. There's a difference between community radio station licenses and commercial licenses. Commercial licenses can be millions of dollars on up that you would pay every year to renew them. But low power radio station licenses are free. And they have not been available since the year 2000. As we speak today, they have not been
available. The licenses have not been available.
Have not been available since the year 2000.
Then why would the FCC attempt to raid a radio station and because they didn't have a license.
Right. Well, you have to operate with a license.
Okay.
We did not have a license.
Okay.
The reason why we did not have a license is because licenses were not available. However, when I started the radio station, I was under the impression from the other radio stations, the 22 other unlicensed radio stations that are up and down Blue Hill Avenue, that you didn't need a license. So that's why I went on the air. That's how, had I known, it might have been something different. So we're at that point right now, right there.
Okay.
So they come in, they shut us down because we don't have a license. That's why they shut us down. We were unlicensed. And licenses are free, however, they're not available. Our petition drive was, one, so that we can show our congressional elected officials that the community wants a voice. And also, we had listeners that were listening on Touch, and when they saw what had happened, us being shut down, just like what Governor Deval Patrick said on April the 18th in the Boston Globe, that he tried to stop them, the federal government, from shutting down Touch. However, we have to understand that the governor is at the state level. This is a federal issue, not a state issue.
Right.
So we thank the governor for speaking
Absolutely.
out on Touch.
Absolutely.
Now, this petition was so that we could get on the ballot during the election time, and it simply said, shall the legislature vote in favor of community radio stations in underserved community? So we understand that this fight that we have for a voice is bigger than Touch. Way bigger than Touch. And that's why I did the walk from Boston. I attempted to walk across America to bring awareness of low power FM radio to get the floodgates open so that licenses could be available. We could talk about that a little later because there was a great thing happened because of the walk.
From that walk, yes.
So the petition was to get us on the ballot. In order for us to get on the ballot, and the wording was, shall the legislator. So we didn't know which district we were going to garnish all the votes for because we needed 250 signatures from 250 signatures from registered voters from a certain district to get on the ballot.
And you got that.
We got 2,000.
Okay.
However, the 2,000 was spread over the city of Boston, which shows you how many people we reached.
Yeah.
We did get 250 in the 7th Suffolk District. Now, the 7th Suffolk District is that district of our state representative, Gloria Fox. So we did get that, and what happened is we end up getting on the ballot in the 7th Suffolk District. And
Wonderful.
It was question number 5.
Wow.
And this has never, ever, 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 ever happened
it's history.
in America, where a unlicensed radio station got on the ballot, got an initiative on the ballot. And why did we get this on the ballot? We got this on the ballot because we knew that I had stated that we were going to create a tsunami effect to get back on the air. So we start with our local officials. Then we go to our state officials. This is the state level.
Yep.
Then we go to the federal level.
So you're going to knock on the President Barack Obama's door at some
Absolutely.
point, because that's the next level.
Absolutely. We have we have our starting 5 in basketball. You have your starting 5. Well, we have our starting 5. We have supporting us Senator Elizabeth Warren, who has been on Touch, who has reached out to her constituents to garnish votes, to let them know about her platform. Senator Ed Markey, who has been on Touch, the same. Congressman Michael Capuano, Congressman Stephen Lynch, and of course, Governor Deval Patrick. That's our starting
That's
five.
a powerful starting five.
Now, the reason why we put this together, now remember I stated that licenses have not been available since the year 2000. In 2006, in Goldfield, Nevada, an unlicensed radio station was forced to shut down by the FCC.
Wow.
Their Senator Harry Reid fought for them, and within 1 year, they received a special license.
Wow.
So I'm saying,
So that's what your starting five is going to do?
they're going to get us a special license, and we have a bench, a heck of a bench. You know who's
Yeah.
on our bench? President Barack Obama.
Wow.
And Secretary of State John Kerry,
Wow.
and the people.
Right. You have 190,000 people that you've provided awareness to, and you help build a community, uplift a community. So I'm hoping and I'm assuming that the community will be willing to stand behind you and write letters to their elected officials. Is that what the community can do to help Touch?
What they can do right now is send their letters. They can email their letters to touchfmradio@yahoo.com. That's touchfmradio@yahoo.com. And they don't have to, and it doesn't have to be a 5-liner. It can be a 1-liner. What Touch has done for you or for the community, and what have you. But so now we're moving the ball forward. We got the petition. We got on the ballot. We were question number 5 in the 7th Suffolk District, even though it was on the back page in real small writing. But we garnished.
But it was there.
We garnished 87%.
And you've made progress.
We garnished 87% of the votes. The voters in that district voted in favor of our initiative.
So it's a matter of time before Touch gets back on the air.
Absolutely.
You've
One way or another.
You've made tremendous strides forward in making that happen. Your initiatives speak for themselves. So I understand that you were able to retrieve some of your equipment back that the FCC had removed. How did that take place? How do you? Well, is it because of the progress you've made on the ballot?
No, actually, when we were shut off the airwaves of 106.1 FM on April 17th, we received phone calls from many law firms. Edward Wildman, they're all over the country, heard about what happened and said that they want to be our lawyer pro bono. They have over 35 years of experience with the FCC. Then we have McKinsey and Associates, who Attorney Joseph Feaster is on Touch. They joined the team. Then we had the legal team of Governor Deval Patrick on the team.
Really?
Yes, ma'am. And then also we had the civil rights lawyer, Rasan Hall, on the team. So with that team right there, and Edward Wildman and Associates spearheading it, we had a victory 2 weeks ago in federal court where we will receive 30% of our equipment back. Never, ever has that happened before. And actually, the reason why that happened also, there was a catch-22 in it. And the clause was that I could not, Charles Clemons, could not petition for any of my personal equipment that was at the radio station, because I'm a DJ. And I was petitioned for some of my personal. And they said the only way they would give back this amount of equipment is if I pull back my petition, and I had to sacrifice and pull back my petition.
So you have to start from scratch in terms of building your personal equipment back up.
I'm a phoenix.
Right, but it'll happen because
absolutely,
you're looking at the bigger picture
right,
and getting this station back on the airwaves, right, so that you can continue to do the good work that you're obviously doing.
You have to understand, as an entrepreneur, you're going to have these obstacles that are going to come in your path. But all they do is actually prepare you for the next one that's going to come.
That's what challenges do. They make us stronger. So you have your congressional leaders, right? And those are the 5 that you just outlined?
Our starting 5.
You're starting 5?
Yes.
So there's an opportunity here for you to, I don't want to say take advantage of, but to use their expertise moving forward in terms of when Touch does get back on the air. So you're going to take advantage of their expertise right now because you need them to get back on the air, right?
Right. We're actually putting forth a letter, and with your professionalism, I'm going to send you a copy of some of the letters so that you can look over it and critique it. And we're setting it up so that we can have a meeting this month or next month with our starting five, and we're going to present the package from Goldfield, Nevada. Remember, Senator Harry Reid fought for them, and there's information about how that took place. And we want the same thing that happened in Goldfield, Nevada to happen in Boston. I've already talked to Congressman Michael Capuano, who said he was unaware that a special license was issued in Goldfield, Nevada. So that information is powerful.
Who are the letters going to? Is it going to the White House?
Well, they're gonna go to the People's House, and
AKA the White House.
This will be the second letter that I've sent to the People's House.
Is that what you call it?
Yes, and also it's going to go to Senator Ed Markey, Senator Elizabeth Warren, Congressman Michael Capuano, and Congressman Stephen Lynch, and whoever else wants to be on this winning team, this champion team.
So it'll be a year and 4 months, right? Because we're at the end of 2014,
Yes.
that Touch has been impacted by the FCC coming in to take its equipment. When do you anticipate Touch being back on the air?
I'm hoping within, before April the 17th.
Okay, you're hoping for before April 17th.
April the 17th. We're going to give our congressional folks a chance.
Okay.
And they have to do the right thing, Yvette.
They will do the right thing. We're going to hope for the best, and we're going to
Right.
hold them accountable to do that as
Absolutely.
well. Because, as you mentioned earlier in the show, we're the ones who put the people in the office.
Right.
They're here to serve the people, and so we do have a voice, and we have to use that voice. So now Touch, we anticipate before April 17th.
A big party.
Touch will be back on the air.
Yes.
Are you going to do anything different this time? Are you going to have a different vision for Touch in terms of?
Because I took the classes here at BNN.
What classes did you take here? Let's talk about the classes that you've taken.
The producing and hosting, and right now I'm taking the field editing class, film editing. I believe that's filming, and editing. I'm taking that class right now.
And let folks know, Charles, that you're certified. You're a certified producer and host at Boston Neighborhood Network.
Well, I'm going to let people know
And
that
we have to thank Barbara, the instructor, for giving us all this wonderful information to help make this platform possible.
Absolutely.
And Leroy.
And we are the A-team.
Well.
Hey, there it is.
Well.
So moving forward, because I've been touched by VNN TV and these classes, moving forward, in order for you to even be a radio personality on Touch 106.1 FM, you have to take the classes here at BNN TV, the producing, the hosting, so that we're on the same page. Because I learned a lot from those classes, and I definitely want Touch, when we come back, to go to the next level. I want Touch to keep evolving into this great voice, this great vehicle, this platform for our community.
That's wonderful, and that's what I wanted to kind of segue into the interns that you talked about earlier in the show, teaching them audio and video. This is part of professional development. I mean, you're an entrepreneur, but as an entrepreneur, as any type of any person who is providing a service, we have to constantly upgrade our skills, and we have to sharpen our expertise. You're never too old to learn.
Oh, you're
right?
Right about that.
So this will BNN will obviously be one resource that you would use in terms of to develop your staff. Are there any other tools you would use to help your staff grow professionally from one level to the next level at all, in terms of computer skills or?
Well,
business skills?
we partner with the Grove Hall Neighborhood Development Corporation, and they have a computer lab.
And then what do they do there? I'm sorry, because there may be people who don't know what
Well,
that is.
the Grove Hall Neighborhood Development Corporation deals with developing economics development in our community. The Mecca Mall that's in beautiful uptown Grove Hall cost $13 million to be built.
Wow.
The Grove Hall Neighborhood Development Corporation built the Mecca Mall. There are homes that are on Brunswick Street and Blue Hill Avenue. Blue Hill Avenue, in between Brunswick and Devon Street, that the Grove Hall Neighborhood Development Corporation.
They manage
has
that entire, all those homes?
Absolutely.
Oh, that's great.
And the businesses that are there too.
Okay.
And then, of course, they have computer classes. They have the facility open for the community. Actually, on December the 23rd from 6 to 7:30 p.m.
The computer classes are basic computer classes?
Yes.
Learning Microsoft Office, things of that nature, typing?
Absolutely.
Okay, just so that people
Absolutely.
know there's a resource out there for
Right.
something like that.
And if they want to call the Grove Hall Neighborhood Development Corporation, the phone number is 617-445-2284. 617-445-2284. And coming up December the 23rd, my Touch 106.1 FM and a very good friend of ours, one of our listeners and supporters, Carla Shetfield, whose son was murdered by a Boston police officer
Wow.
2 years ago. We are going to have, she's going to have her second civics class, teaching civics to our community free of charge.
You
And-
can't beat that. I need you to repeat that one more time to your camera. I think it's right over here. Let them know the date, the time, and what class is going to be offered, because this is a huge opportunity and it's free.
You don't want to miss on December the 23rd at the Grove Hall Neighborhood Development Corporation, conveniently located at 7 Cheney Street from 6 to 7:30 p.m. Come on down and learn civics for free. Bring the whole family. Come on down. We have plenty of room, plenty of seats, and it's free. Again, it's December the 23rd from 6 to 7:30 p.m. Learn civics, find out what you need to know from the local level to the state level to the federal level.
That's awesome. It's a great opportunity. I want to encourage everyone to take that opportunity to go down there. I myself will pencil that in my book, because you can't move forward unless you know how to be civically engaged.
That's right.
And I know we have a couple of minutes left. I know time flies whenever you're
Can't
on the
believe it.
show. Are there any other events coming up that Touch will be sponsoring that you would like to share with the community?
Well, I would definitely want our our viewers to send in those letters of support. That's very, 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 very important.
Okay.
To send their letters of support to Touch FM Radio at yahoo.com. That's Touch FM Radio at yahoo.com.
And again, it could just be one sentence
one
that says,
sentence.
Touch supported me in my life this way. It doesn't have to be a paragraph or an actual letter.
No.
Correct?
No, just a one-liner so that we can present this package to our congressional leaders to show what Touch is doing. Coming up, Touch, we're going to be at December the 17th. We are providing great music because that's what we do.
Of course.
In Natick, we're going to Natick to the Brandon Residential Treatment Facility. It's the Multicultural Festival, and we've been doing this for 8 years, going out to Natick, Massachusetts.
You hear
and
it.
it's a real great time for everyone. And then December the 20th, we'll be at Hibernian Hall, again providing music and sounds for the Panthers Youth Organization.
Okay. All right.
And this event face painting, music, food, and a great time for
Lots
everyone.
of fun. So you hear it, folks. There's plenty of stuff going on in the community. Unfortunately, we have no more time. We have to end the show right here. But I want to thank you, Charles, for being on the show and talking about your passion and your leadership. And Touch 106.1 FM is doing so many great things in the community. I want to encourage everyone to continue to support Charles and his mission to get Touch back on the airwaves. I also want to thank my interns for being here. They're absolutely wonderful. The show wouldn't be possible without you. And I also want to thank the crew for being here as well. And thank the viewing audience for watching. Tune in next time, which will be in 2015. There'll be more information, more resources. Go to www.